straight game.
I'm not even scared.
We have crossed the Rubicon.
There's no going back now.
Best hobby in the world. All right, gentlemen. This is number 75. Stopwatch is ready to go.
Ready when you are.
Phones are off, doors locked.
3/4 of the way to the big 100.
Show number 75. We got a special guest tonight. Gentlemen, whenever you're ready, Daniel, give me a countdown as the chair falls apart under my feet.
Sweet.
Alrighty, I'll give you that countdown. And in 3, 2, 1.
This is the What's Neat This Week, show number 75, guys. We've made it that long. I got Theranos' glove here, don't I? Did I get it right? Thanos' power, $1.3 billion, guys. The What's Neat This Week show. We're going to talk about a lot of neat stuff tonight, including we've got Hal from Model Railroader Magazine with us tonight. Best hobby in the world. Let's do this. Did I get his name right?
No.
What did I mess up?
You said, yeah, it's
Thanos.
Thanos.
Screw the glove.
All right.
No glove.
Take the gloves off, Ken.
This is the What's Neat This Week, show number 75. We got DeLoreans, boxcars, books, magazine, and Sugar Fire boxcars.
All right.
Stay tuned, number 75. Let's go, guys. The What's Neat This Week video podcast is supported by enthusiastic model railroaders just like you. Additional support is provided by Athearn Trains. Check out all their new monthly announcements at athearn.com. And by kenpatterson.com. For informative model railroad how-to videos, check it out, kenpatterson.com. Further support is provided by the NCE Corporation, the power of DCC. Visit their website at ncedcc.com. And thank you for supporting the What's Neat This Week podcast. This is the What's Neat This Week, show number 75 for May 11th, 2019. I'm your host, Ken Patterson, and tonight I've got guests from everywhere. We've got Hal Miller from Kalmbach Publishing up in Milwaukee, Model Railroader Magazine. He's the editor of that great, wonderful magazine that has brought us all through the hobby pretty much for our entire lives.
Yeah.
I've also got Michael Budde with me tonight. I've got Joshua Sugar Fire.
What's up, everybody?
I love you, Joshua. And of course, we got Daniel Coombs running camera. He worked all day really hard. I went up there and visited him with a hardware store tonight. I watched him do some propane without blowing up the place. That was pretty amazing.
Any flashbacks from when you used to work there?
Oh, best job in the world way back then. Now,
Back then.
I'm going to launch right into Hal, and I've already had this figured out. I practiced this a couple different ways in my mind on how I wanted to approach this. But back when I started my real estate company and I was self-employed, I used to be on the phone with Kalmbach quite a bit back in the early 80s. I want to say it was the 80s when I did all this, and the early 90s, all through that time period of buying and selling buildings. And I would talk to Jeff Wilson, and I would talk to the various editors up there. And Hal, in my mind, you have a dream job because you get to be in the best hobby in the world every day while I was out on the street buying and selling deals, and we're all sloshing and trying to make a living. But to us, our relaxation was to come home from work and put my face in your magazine and just enjoy the hobby. And to me, that meant you had the best job in the world. Tell me about that.
I can say it is a job that there's a lot worse out there, and I've done them a number of times. But yeah, but back in the 80s and the 90s, I wasn't there yet. But yeah, I was still, I was still in high school and college. But yeah, they had a great crew back then. You used to talk to Jeff. Jeff is still around. I see him almost daily. And a great guy to talk to, and he's got a lot of stories from the Wayback Machine. So, but yeah, it is a terrific job, and I've had several of them at Kalmbach. I mean, I came. Well, I'm sure we can talk about this later. I started at Trains, and I went to Model Retailer, and now I'm at Model Railroader. So yeah, all of them have involved trains or toys or both. So.
No, that's great experience to be working for those other magazines, because I'm sure there's a different dichotomy at each one of the magazines a little bit.
There is, very different. Model Retailer, certainly was the most different out of all three, it was a trade magazine that went to the hobby stores. So you kind of peeked behind the curtain, if you will, at what was going on, not only with the model railroad industry, but radio control and games and plastic models and everything. And at one point in my life, I've been, part of all those hobbies as an active hobbyist. Trains and Model Railroader, are the two biggest hobby magazines. Those were the two that the company was really founded on, and they really have different audiences. There's some crossover, but it's been fun. I guess I'm the only person who's ever been part of both staffs.
Wow.
There was a real competition between those two staffs, back in the day.
Yes. Gosh, I have followed that magazine literally from the start. And this is one of those magazines where as you grow up in model railroading, you eventually find out that you end up with a collection of model railroader magazines.
Absolutely.
And I've got some of ours out on the table because I've got every single issue since day one. Hal, tell me what year did that magazine start? It was 1934. So it was a depression-oriented hobby in a way, whereas this hobby is truly resilient when it comes to the economy. When the economy is just doing great, that's when a lot of times you find that the hobby might slow down just a little bit because people are spending money on their boats. They're going on vacation. They're traveling. They're going all the places. If you remember back in 2007, when the stock market hit around 6,300 that day, everybody held their breath in the industry. And the hobby was not affected negatively in any way because people parked their boats. They quit going on vacations. They stopped spending extra money. But it seemed like everybody did come back to their hobbies, the ones that were in their basements. So this has always been a depression-oriented hobby, and I say that because that's when Model Railroader magazine started, was right in that period of time. Now, Daniel, you can get on this. On the table, I've got a few issues of Model Railroader that I want to talk about because these are some I pulled out of our collection. I've got the 1937 October issue of Model Railroader right here. Absolutely amazing. The stuff that was published back then, the how-to articles were in-depth. I mean, these guys were doing what we're doing. They were scratch building out of nothing. If you look at the April 1946 Model Railroader, that is a photograph in color, one of their first covers that they did in color. And that gentleman on the cover of that magazine is, in fact, the same man that we saw in the World Book Encyclopedia photograph under the definition of model trains.
No kidding.
And there was a picture of him in
I didn't know
color,
that.
same shot from this 1946 issue. I always wondered where that shot came from. It's one of those things
Now
as
we
a
know.
kid you pay attention to,
Yeah.
right? I've also got a shot here where they've got a beautiful young lady on the cover of the December 1942 Model Railroader magazine, which is something we're trying to do, is include a lot of ladies in the hobby because we know they're out there. But they had the intuitive ability to do that back then, and I thought it was great. Now, if we go into today, I see Model Railroader magazine has got these periodicals that they do. You see them at Walmart, you see them at the grocery store, and the one I've got on the table here is Model Railroading, or as you call it,
Right.
Ding.
Ultimate Guide.
Right. And what this seems to be is a magazine where you guys are really making a great effort to bring the internet in with the paper. Do you want to talk about how great this issue is?
Well, it's absolutely fantastic. David Popp, who's the executive producer for Model Railroader Video Plus, and used to be the managing editor for Model Railroader some years ago. This is his brainchild, and Model Railroading, the Ultimate Guide, there have been two so far. There will be one next year. But yeah, it really does meld the video and the paper components really well. And you get a little bit more in depth. It's a good sort of omnibus publication of all the things that are going on Model Railroader Video Plus. It's funny. You can't just have video and you can't just have paper.
Right.
I think this really tries to get people, however they feel comfortable learning about model railroading or anything, and that's really what we're after is establishing a communication with our audience.
I think it's fantastic. When we were talking on the phone earlier, we've been talking on the phone since you started, actually, because I love to just call you up and listen to you smile, because your smile comes through on the phone, and I love that. It puts me in a good mood, makes me work harder. But we were talking about the fact that you guys are now doing it where you're creating these smaller websites with specific videos tailored to each article that's coming out in some of the issues of Model Railroader, where you really, really are melding these. It's about video, just like you said. They don't want you still.
It is. I mean, what we want to do is get to people however they are comfortable learning or enjoying or consuming the hobby. And if it's paper, that's great. If it's video, that's great. If it's reading about it on the internet, that's fantastic too. Tablets, your phones, all of that today are just mediums for information. And we've got an audience that is predominantly older, so they still like a good paper magazine. But we have a really I'd say a good critical mass that likes the video, and we have a significant number who have digital subscriptions. So yeah, we want to get to you any way we can.
This is amazing. God, thank you for what you are doing for our hobby.
Yeah.
Without you guys you guys are like the brick and mortar that holds it all together. Does that make any sense?
They've successfully bridged that gap between the older generation and the younger generation by putting it into, digital form and still in paper form.
Right. All right, Hal, I got to ask you this question because when you come on a show like this, you got to get important questions with answers. So,
okay.
Hal, is it chicken or steak? What's your favorite?
It is steak. In fact, we're having steak tomorrow for Mother's Day. So yes, definitely steak.
And the bonus question is, how do you prefer your steak?
Medium rare.
Thank goodness.
Now, have you seen this movie?
I like it with a little physical therapy. It'll get up and run away.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see this new movie that just came out last week? What was it called? The
Avengers Endgame.
Avengers Endgame. So that's what this Theranos' glove must be?
Thanos.
Yeah.
Is that Thanos?
Thanos. That is the Infinity Gauntlet.
Is that right? I built this for my son last week, and the interesting thing about it is this was just another model railroad project in a way, because we're using foam, hot wire cutters, and every trick we got in the modeling book to build was essentially a prop. So when he took this to the movie theater with his friends the other night, they had a fantastic time. Gosh, what did they do? $1.3 billion in the first 3 days?
Yeah.
That's amazing,
Crazy
guys.
money.
Yep.
Absolutely fantastic. I can't say anything else except for from 12:30 until 4 a.m. I sat through that movie. There was a lot.
Well,
there was a
you're
lot
a
of
good
editing.
Father for sitting there.
That was a lot of editing, guys, that I didn't have to do. Rock and roll. Now, Joshua, you've been following up a lot of stuff on Facebook. You were out last week, but tell us some of the things you want to talk about tonight.
So first, I want to talk about John Inglesman. He's the gentleman with the Back to the Future car that I drool over. He built the whole town and had the lightning hitting the
the
clock
DeLorean.
Tower.
Yeah.
Back to the Future.
Right.
So he has totally outdid himself. The last time that we discussed him, I said that he needs to put flames behind the wheels as it's going Back to the Future.
Wow.
And he pulled it off.
Yes.
Here's some here's some great stuff here. He 3D printed the box to hold the flame bulb underneath.
Wow.
And then he printed the flames. He designed them on SketchUp. And that's what the flames are.
Good
and
job.
he cut some slits right out of the road and stuck it right in there. And it is absolutely great.
This is an amazing hobby. First, he did the lightning, which was dead on, and now he's got the tire tracks flaming out.
Yep. Kudos to you, John. Very, very good job.
John, awesome, man. Thank you for contributing that to our Facebook page. That's absolutely amazing. What else you got, Joshua?
Sam Dennehy, everybody knows him.
Oh, yeah, good old Sam.
So he's been doing a little work with the Ghostbusters building and his Ghostbusters car from last RPM meet. And he's also doing Mel's Diner from
American Graffiti.
Correct,
Nice.
and they're just spot on.
Yeah.
And then I had a lady, Ellie Fricky, I believe is how you pronounce it. She had a question for you, Mike. Where do you get your car kits from?
Well, they're mostly resin castings from John Tyson. He's perfected a method of shrinking vehicles, and without getting into it, he has a lot of models available that he sells on eBay during the winter, but once he puts them on, they're gone quick. So
eBay. How about what was the other company that you use sometime?
Well, I've been using Sylvan Scale models. They're models more of the 30s and 40s and 50s. He concentrates on the 40s.
And she can
mostly
just go right on the web and type that up, Sylvan Scale models?
Yeah.
How about that?
Great.
But, there's a lot of companies that 3D print vehicles now too, and you could go to Shapeways and look for Mad About Cars. That's another vendor that will print just about anything, but they have hundreds of prototypes available.
And that's specifically on shapeways.com?
Yeah, the Mad About Cars, that's our buddy Jens Jan from Germany.
Yeah.
Yes, he flew here to be on the What's Neat show. Like on the
Yes.
first year we did it.
I mean, he about 3 years, 4
he said
years
it
ago.
absolutely took his business and put him on the map.
Mm-hmm.
So I was astonished by that. But we're getting that same kind of reception across the board. We got the NC throttle system here on the table, and they've been selling those things like hotcakes.
Mm-hmm.
They can't. I mean, it's just amazing. Thank you very much for that. What else you got, Joshua, on your list?
Well, Ellie, I hope that helps you out a little bit in your journey to find some cars. And last but not least, we have Will Anand, and he sent Mike these great pictures of the Vega Vertipack.
Right.
And I don't know much about it. I've only seen it in a couple pictures. So,
well, it was developed in the late '60s. It actually, the first one was built in 1970, and then it was built specifically to ship the Chevy Vega. And, you know, every time I start talking about that, I have to listen to all the Vega jokes about rusting when they're coming off the assembly line and everything. But it was really a fascinating concept. In order to hold the shipping costs down, they designed this car where they could hold 30 vehicles in one 89-foot railroad car by standing the vehicles on their nose, 15 to a side. The sides folded down. Three cars would drive onto a section, and they would fold the door up and latch them. So they carried 30 vehicles as opposed to the conventional tri-level racks, which carried 15 or 18 vehicles at the maximum. So
I have a question. So whenever I get my car in that position, it doesn't run because gas won't run to it. The oil's everywhere.
Right.
How did they?
Well, the Vega was specially designed to be shipped this way. They had baffles in the oil pan to prevent the oil from leaking out. The windshield washer bottle was mounted at a 45-degree angle, so the fluid would stay in, you know, no matter which way it was.
So it went vertical and horizontal.
Right.
Wow.
And so that was really a neat concept, but it lasted for 7 years. In 1977, that was the last year of the Vega, and soon afterwards, those cars were scrapped because, the flats had the superstructure cut off and then mounted conventional racks on the same flat cars.
That's amazing, Mike. God, we love it. I was on the internet this week, and I looked at James Wright's website. Our favorite friend over there did a product review on the latest offering from Broadway Limited, which fits this week just perfectly, and that's the big boy locomotive that they've come out with in HO scale. I think this might be the second run of that. He was reviewing number 4021. That's a coal burner, had a coal load in the tender, and it's a beautiful model. Thank you, James Wright, for what you also do for the hobby to show us all the products that are out there. We've got two big boys on the table tonight. We've got one in HO scale, number 4014, which ran last week. What a great podcast we had last week. Thank you so much, Michelle Kempema, and everybody that supplied us with the big boy footage. That was a great show last week, guys. And we've also got the big boy in N scale from Athearn. I didn't even know they made it in N scale, but we've got one on the table tonight. Absolutely beautiful model. Looks just like the HO scale one, but small. So, yeah, rock and roll. Now, I'm going to go back to Hal Miller because you know what, Hal? You're the kind of gentleman that I feel really does have a passion for this hobby. And when you get off work at night and you clock out, I'll bet you just don't leave work. I bet you go home and take the hobby with you, don't you?
It's here. Yeah. You can see behind me that the skies are always blue in my world back here.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I've got an O scale layout here at home that's never done. In fact, I've got I've actually got some S scale stuff that I'm kind of fooling around with. So anyway, it's not a big layout. But yeah, no, I come home and I model. You know, I've got a lot of hobbies, but definitely I do plenty of model railroading at home.
That's absolutely amazing. I love it. I want to see your layout in the magazine. Have you had your stuff published in Model Railroader?
I have had a photo. I did an article some years ago. I think I was still at Trains at the time. On using lava rock to recreate red dirt, and you really have to be careful with that stuff. you have to make sure it's glued down well because some of the lava rock is magnetic.
Interesting.
And it's not particularly friendly to electric motors.
Interesting. Wow, I did
But
not
it
know
does
that. but
it
I
does
didn't
make
see
good
it.
red dirt.
Wow. I know.
Yeah.
Me and Joshua were building diorama last week for his boss to go along with these Sugar Firebox cars. And he asked me for dirt, and we got Vegas dirt. We got Georgia dirt, which is red.
Yeah,
Great for
it
NNS
is.
photos and
Yeah.
CSX shots. But it's
A lot
neat
of
to
iron
have.
oxide and Oklahoma and Georgia both.
I was definitely
Yeah.
overwhelmed by the amount of dirts that you had.
I
so.
know, and I got all my Greeley, Colorado dirt. It's only a month old to me. That's brand new dirt. I love it. I know. George Bogatuk at Soundtracks one time, he sent me a box of dirt for my birthday. I mean, hello, thank you, I love you. It's the best present I ever got. Dirt, I love it, from Colorado. I know. How do
Yeah.
you follow that up? Gee.
But dirt's from different place. They have different either consistencies or colors.
Yeah.
And it makes a difference.
Absolutely right. Joshua, what else are we going to talk about? Because I'm looking at the clock on this one. You talk to me.
Let's see. I have
RC.
this brand new RC car that I just bought.
Yeah.
It's from Carson RC Works, and I found it on eBay. It is from Germany, so it took a while to get here. Came in perfect condition. It was after tax and the exchange rate. I only paid $158 for it, and it's very much worth it. They have many different styles. They're all the Volkswagen bus or truck. Some of them have a camper on them.
We got B-roll footage of you driving this on the layout,
Yeah.
which was kind of. Oh, you're going to drive it right
I'm
here?
going to drive it right
Wow.
Can you do that?
here. I don't know.
I don't know.
We're going to find out, aren't we?
This reminds me. Oh, there you go. John Tyson did that once. That's awesome.
That
it works.
is awesome.
But, and it has different speed variations. I can go pretty slow on it. I can parallel park it if I practice a little bit. We'll see.
And the headlights are lit.
So headlights, taillights are lit. But, this gives a lot of options. If you don't want the Volkswagen, you can just buy one and take the top off and send it to Mike Budde, and he'll put a different...
What's the price point on something like that?
The price point is $158, and that was after tax, shipping, the exchange rate. So, really, that's not a bad buy. And you could probably find them cheaper if you scroll more up on eBay. So
That's really cool.
Do they make a little Porsche 911?
no, they have a red style of this that says Porsche on the side, but no Porsches yet.
Okay.
I assume it's got to be kind of a van style body to
Yeah,
get all
probably,
that stuff
yeah.
in.
And yeah.
I haven't broken it apart yet, but I plan on
But
dissecting
that's
it a
still
little.
pretty darn cool.
Yeah, it is.
I love it,
Yeah.
guys. We've been waiting there for a long
That's right.
time. Finally.
Imagine if we can motorize your model excursion over there.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Who is that talking in the distance? Who we got here? We
Oh, it's
have
just me.
got
There's Daniel.
Daniel. Hey, Daniel.
Hi.
How are you? Happy
I'm
birthday.
doing well.
Welcome back. We love it when you're here running camera because you're so good at it.
Thank you.
And we're hanging out with Hal and everybody else. Now, Mike Budde, while we're still talking about cars here, tell me you brought some cars with you this evening and they're on the table.
Yeah, the first three there on the right, the blue one and then the two red ones, those are all three of those are from BOS, Best of Show. The blue one's a 57 Cadillac, and then the red one in the middle is a 58 Buick station wagon, and then the other one's a 1960 Buick ambulance, which those are all out of my era pretty much, but I just couldn't pass them up because they were such nice models.
They are.
Those are nice models. Who makes
So-
those again?
BOS.
VOS. And those
B
come
is-
just like
B
that?
as in boy.
Yeah, B as in boy,
Oh.
BOS.
Best of
yeah,
Show.
Best of Show, right.
Best of show. Those are amazing, Mike.
I got
Yeah.
those from American Excellence website.
Huh.
But then the two taxis there, the red and black one is the Athearn taxi that came out a few years ago, the older style checker with the single headlights. And then recently Burkina, our drummer, released this other checker cab, more modern, with the dual headlights on each side.
Nice.
So I painted that one red and black. That's a cab company here in St. Louis called Laclede Cab, and I'm going to do the same thing with the newer ones, unless I can get an undecorated one.
I
But,
love it. Remember the
but-
buses he did with the
Yeah.
KC95?
Yeah.
Those are cool.
But the thing I've really been working on is that white van there. That's a Chevrolet P20 step van, which is a small van that they made all through the 60s and 70s. It ran on a regular pickup truck chassis, 3/4 ton chassis with a 125-inch wheelbase. and that's a small van that we could really use in the hobby. Well, Greg Dixon figured out a way to shrink down a 1/72nd scale model, and I'm kind of refining it and fixing it up a little bit because I'm going to use them for auto rack loads. But because they always ship those out of St. Louis mixed with the Corvettes that were built in the same plant. But when I get done with that master there, I'm going to send it back to Greg, and he'll probably go ahead and sell those vans if anybody's interested in them.
That's cool.
So,
That's awesome.
anyway,
All right, before we close it out, because we're getting close to the end, I'm going back to Hal out in beautiful. I love you out there. He's just on the screen right here. I feel like you're with us. It's so bizarre, but you're right here in front of us. Tell me now, you guys have reestablished essentially the brand of Model Railroader, or Kalmbach Publishing is no longer called Kalmbach Publishing. It's called Kalmbach Media. Which,
No, we are Kalmbach Media. Yeah.
correct. So tell us about the future. Tell us the great future we have to look forward to.
Well, Model Railroader, for sure is going to continue in a print format. That's the vast majority of our audience still wants a print magazine, and we're going to keep bringing it to.
Good.
But we also, will continue the video, and we will continue internet websites, content that's digital magazines. So in every form, like I said, but we really Kalmbach Media, it really reflects what we do today. Publishing was really, we had books and we had magazines, and that was our game. But now we're, every magazine we have, which is about 13, 14 magazines right now, we all have websites. We have a jewelry component that is just online. So it's any way we can get information to people. We're doing it, and there might be something new in the future. They may put an implant in somebody's head, and we may just beam that stuff right to them. That would be as long as they're having fun doing it. Kalmbach has really made a living on hobbies over the years, and as long as we can get the information to the people and they're enjoying what we're putting out, we're going to continue to do it.
Thank you for everything you do.
Thank
Hey,
you.
You guys are the reason we do it, and frankly, you make the magazine. Our readers, literally, most of our content is from the readers,
Right.
and I give the editors, Cody and Steve and Dana and Eric, and Jeff, all those guys, they really put the magazine together every month. I'm just kind of the guiding shepherd, and do a lot of the modeling and stuff, and all the rest of the content is from the readers. And so if we didn't have everybody reading and submitting content, we wouldn't have a magazine.
He makes such a great point.
Thanks to
Yeah,
everybody.
that
doesn't
is a
he?
great point.
This is the best hobby in the world because we're all friends.
Yeah.
I mean, I've worked for Model Railroader magazine. You guys have sent me out on photo shoots, Santa Barbara, California, different places around the country where I'm loaded for bear. I do a job for you, and I love seeing my work in your print. I don't know, I've had a few of your covers over the years, probably half a dozen articles over the years. So we've all worked together over the years. He's absolutely right.
Yeah.
Model Railroader magazine belongs to all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Just like that Colorado Model Railroad Museum does. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
All of these components, David Trussell built that museum for us to enjoy the hobby. The folks at Kalmbach do what they do, obviously for a profit, but we love what you do. So rock and roll. And then talking about a profit and money, I've had folks ask us more than once, we love what you guys are doing. When we hang out with you on Saturday nights, we feel like we're just hanging out in the basement with you guys. And we want to do something, if we could, to contribute other than just material, i.e. they want to send us money. So what I did this week was reactivated our GoFundMe account. It's been around for a couple of years, and it's done very well for us, but it's out there for those folks that do want to send money to the What's Neat This Week show. Just look it up on GoFundMe. It's out there. I'll put it in show notes. I wanted to bring that up at the last minute, and I think we're going to close this one out, guys. Going once, going twice. What do you got, Joshua? Anything? Daniel? Hal, we love you, brother. Best
Thanks
hobby in
for
the
coming.
world.
Yeah.
Show number
Thanks.
75.
Thanks for having me. It was
All
great.
right.
Let's go run some trains, guys.
All right.